Hi, everybody. My name is Cathy Peterson, and I've been invited to share a memory, something I remember uh, when God has been there for me in darkness and despair, and how He's given me hope. So, when Lauren first invited me, I thought of so many instances that I could share, but I've whittled it down to just a few. And the first thing I'm going to share with you is that when I was pregnant for my third son, yes, I have my three sons. When I was pregnant for my youngest, his due date was on Good Friday. And to me as a Christian, that was just a horrible due date for a new baby. So I prayed and prayed and prayed all day on Good Friday. And I was blessed with delivering my baby on Easter Sunday. What a wonderful day to celebrate Easter and my newborn. So that was one small instance of when God was there for me. There have been big times and little times. As a mom, when you have a newborn and it seems like there's something wrong, you're at a loss. You just don't know what to do. So I had one of my boys who had trouble choking. Every time I tried to feed him, he would choke. And so we wound up taking him to the doctor. And what the doctor found was a cyst in his throat that was keeping him from eating properly. When he told us that they had to do surgery and put our newborn under general anesthesia to do this, it was heartbreaking. And his grandmothers and I, needless to say, prayed nonstop that God would heal this baby and he wouldn't have to go through this surgery at just a few weeks old. And lo and behold, when we went to his pre-op visit just a couple of days before the surgery was scheduled, the doctor's looking in the baby's throat and he's looking and he's looking. And he said to me, which side of his throat was that cyst on? And I told him. And he had this really confused look on his face. He couldn't find the cyst. So our prayers had been answered. And that baby did not have to go under anesthesia. He did not have to have surgery. And he was healed. And from there on, everything was wonderful. Again, one of my boys. If you're a mom, you understand that you pray nonstop for your kids. But this time it was a little bit bigger. This time I received a cell phone call at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And when I looked at the number on the cell phone, it was my ex-husband. That kind of gave me a bad feeling. 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and he was calling me. So I answered the call and found out that my 19-year-old, had been in a very serious car accident. He was halfway between Syracuse and Rochester when it happened. So we live in the Syracuse area, and they had flown him to Rochester's Strong Memorial Hospital. I was devastated that it was so far away, and as quickly as I could, got myself up, got myself ready. My husband and I and my mom took off for Rochester. We got there and we found out that he was in intensive care and he'd been placed in an induced coma because his injuries were so severe. They wanted to give his body time to heal. So as a family, we didn't want Jeff to be alone at all. So we all took turns sitting with him 24 hours a day for the first couple of days so that he was never alone. He knew somebody was always there with him. And after a couple of days, the rest of the family went back to Syracuse. And I stayed in Rochester, and thank God for the Ronald McDonald House. They put me up. They gave me transportation back and forth to the hospital. they were just amazing. But I sat with him day in, day out, all day, every day. I talked to him, although I didn't know if he could hear me. When someone's in a coma, you don't know. But I just assumed he could. I hoped he could. I prayed for him to come back healthy. And after a couple of days, they were able to bring him out of the coma, remove the breathing tube from him. And he looked at me and he said, "I love you, Mom." And that told me he could hear me. And he has memories of that accident. He has scars on his arms. He gets occasional headaches. But it hasn't slowed him down. He's still my daredevil. He's my snowboarder, my mountain hiker. He's up for any adventure that he and his friends can come up with. So I thank God every day for this gift of my son. And I apologize for the emotion, but it meant everything that he came back healthy. And he's here to give me grief by doing all those adventurous things he loves to do. So that's a good thing. I've also had answered prayers for myself for healing. One that stands out is as I was volunteering at our church, the ankle that I had broken a few years ago began to act up. And our pastor's wife came over and said, "Can I pray for you?" Not being one to turn down prayer, I told her sure. And she placed her hand on my ankle and she began to pray. And after a couple of minutes, we looked at each other, our eyes met, and we both had a look of surprise. And she asked me if I could feel the warmth that she was feeling. And I said, absolutely. And within minutes, I was able to stand and walk without pain. So what I want to share with you is that whether your need is big or small, God listens. He hears you. He answers your prayer. Just remember that sometimes he answers it on his timeline, not yours. He does hear and he does answer. And I just wanted to share a Bible verse with you. It's Isaiah 40:31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. So I just remind you to do that, to pray, to have hope that God hears you and he listens and he is always with us. So I want to thank you for joining in on this video, and I wish you all a blessed day. Thank you.